Part of Wednesday's lecture was really getting to these Lewis structures and getting practice drawing them. And like I said, we're going to be drawing so many Lewis structures in this class, and that's a really good segue to the second handout. So we went over how to draw basic Lewis structures. Remember our basic rules that you just fill in the octets starting with single bonds. If that doesn't work, then you complete octets with your lone pairs. And then still, we need to make sure that the electrons that we're using equals the number of valence electrons that are available, so be sure to look for double and triple bonds. I mentioned how patterns should definitely become clear, and these patterns are really articulated well in the Honk principle, where hydrogen obviously can only have one bond, oxygen likes 2 bonds, nitrogen likes 3 bonds, and carbon likes 4. And these are really good to use all the time when you're drawing these Lewis structures. Okay, we went over a formal charge in terms of how it's group family minus sticks minus dots. We went over how formal charges don't always portray the actual charges that reside in the molecule. So for instance, we talked about how in this molecule here, the oxygen has a formal plus charge. However, it actually carries most of the electron density. It's actually partially negative because of its electronegativity and the polarity of the molecule. And the last topic we discussed on Wednesday were ionic structures, and those are structures that have both covalent and ionic interactions in their structures. We have covalent bonds and ionic interactions. So that's common when it just doesn't make sense to make, this was invalid because it gave nitrogen 10 electrons. And then we also mentioned how about 2 units or more between electronegativities gives you a ionic bond. So we gave this other example, and that was the case. Here was a valid Lewis structure, but their Pauling electronegativities were too large, and so it was an ionic bond. So all this practicing of Lewis structures, like I said, is a really great segue into the second handout. And this handout is then a good segue to our class.